Hello and welcome to the Dream Factory, a new podcast here on Back Body Drop that'll be looking primarily at Rev Pro and maybe a few other parts of the British scene as and when, but of course, this past weekend was Rev Pro's 12th anniversary show, so only one place to go. I'm Ian Hamilton, joined, well, not as always, but if you used to be Avenue Presser podcast on the same stream, you'll be familiar with his voice, joined by Mike Kilby. And Mike, how's your wrestling weekend been?
Well, thank you for the Hedslish Willkommen, as always. It's nice to be the guest, I suppose, this time. Brought in for my GWF, I think the expert, I think, with GWF, which is nice. Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good weekend. Always great to see people. It seems to have replaced. Sorry, not to bring WXW straight up, but it seems to have replaced, I think, 16 carat for a lot of people. There's people who I've maybe not seen for a long time who I did get to see this past weekend for All In and the 21st anniversary show. Sorry, not 21st, 12th anniversary show. Yeah, it was a really great weekend. Some brilliant matches on both the shows I went to, anyway. And yeah, I think it was I think we could consider it a real success.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those like Rev Pro's second year at Copper Box. Before we go into the card and guess our feelings of the show, so yesterday, Fightful Select reported the crowd 3,927, hence the episode title. That's down by about 145 on last year's number, which is what, a mere 229 attendance. So you think 30,000 less people in town for AEW, that has got to be nothing other than a win for Rev Pro. Especially
Yeah,
considering the card, you didn't exactly have, the big names like you did last year. You didn't have, your centerpiece Osprey Shingo match. This was very much a Rev Pro centric card. And yeah, it was imports, but all of the top matches, with maybe the exception of Zack Sabre Jr. and Hechicero, were, in big Rev Pro storylines. It wasn't like he's import against import. He is, big name from Japan. So this was a big win for being homegrown.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Say 145 when there's in theory 30,000 less wrestling fans in the city. I think they'll take that. I think they'll probably be disappointed they didn't do 4K twice, but
Near enough.
you know,
Round up.
it's near enough. That could have been people who were ill or travel issues. It could be any number of problems for that. So yeah, I don't think they can sniff at that at all.
So of course, I think when we're looking at the big, I'll say trendy as in like the popular British promotions, you haven't had that many doing big venues. Of course, Progress did Wembley Arena, but they only did that once. And I guess hindsight, that was kind of like GCW their Hammerstein Ballroom show. Even go down that uncooperative gimmick match. GCW had the ladder match, which I think half was on Botchamania. Progress had the TLC match with all those tails that didn't break. I mean, they never went back to Wembley. ICW, of course, they did the Hydro 3 years running, but each year was a hell of a drop in the crowds, 6,000 to 42. So, if you want to compare like for like, okay, they haven't done the number, but they've definitely held steady compared to ICW. So, as much as people who joke, oh, Britwest is back, and I saw that tweet around the weekend, hold your horses. One strong company, yeah, but the fact that Rev Pro's been able to hold steady, we'll drop house at the end. There's talk of AW doing maybe the O2 or Wembley Stadium next year for Forbidden Door. Is there even a possibility they do the Copper Box third year running, albeit with definitely a lot less people in town? But we can talk about that at the end of the show. But it was a long night, 11 matches. I think VOD was what, nearly 5 hours long. So
I can believe it. Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those where they for second year running no intermission, so there would have been matches in the middle which people took as a involuntary toilet break interval, whatever you want to call it. And I think there was one match really didn't stand a chance because of that. But start the opener, pre-show match announced days beforehand. Joshua James, Charles Samuels, and Youngblood over Greedy Souls, Golden Vice Santos, and David Francisco. That was pretty fine for what it was. It was building up a load of storylines. You had Greedy Souls, Bade being beefing pretty much everyone. Brendan White in particular having beef with anyone who used to be a young boy. They had a brief run in with young blood around Sheffield a couple of months back. Shaw Samuels having in with David Francisco. So it wasn't just he's the last guys left. It wasn't an AEW pre-show with draw numbers out hat. Here you go. You have Arya Daivari on the babyface team for whatever reason. But I thought it was a pretty decent match for the time it had. Under 10 minutes. There's only so much you can be able to do with an 8-man tag in that time. But did the story well, and I definitely have buried the lead here. Because we started the pre-show match had Grade of all people coming out doing the introductions, which I guess we need to push tickets for the short the Gouge in Islington. But that was just an absolute. I don't want to say surprise because Tom Campbell had been tweeting, "Oh, he's on his way," but not something I was ever expecting to see at modern day Rev Pro show anyway.
Yeah, a bit of an odd thing, bit of a surprise. I was briefly wondering, is he going to do the whole show? Which was, which I was like, that's a very brave
Yeah,
decision.
no Kitchen Grain commentary was absolutely flipping his lid, of course, in full character, but I think it's fine. But he was there for one match and he was gone. One thing I did notice behind the pre-show, it seemed like it was meant to have been done on YouTube like last year's, but the whole thing was just part of the main show file. So I guess they were hoping to have a pre-show to upsell you for the main show on Rev Pro on Demand. Didn't happen. So whether they chop this out and put it on YouTube separately, we'll see. But yeah, whatever the plan was, at least from the way it came across, certainly wasn't what it ended up being. Then on to the main show, started off with another surprisingly short match. Ethan Allen back, first big show since he returned from injury, beating Connor Mills in 8.5 minutes. Um, this one was fine, but I think, was it 2 weeks earlier at your call for Summer Sizzler? Um, they did the big pull apart brawl, and Connor Mills towards the end really rolled his ankle. So the fact that he was here at all, I took that as a big win because he had pulled out of was it Riot covers? No, it was Pro Wrestling Ceasefire, so he pulled out
Yes.
the match off. I heard that. Oh no, this isn't good news. But he worked attack on the Saturday morning, then hot footed it to Copperbox. So I definitely think there's room left. There's enough left in the tank for a rematch when certainly Mills is back to 100%. It wasn't like I didn't feel shortchanged by any stretch of imagination, but definitely felt like for how heated the build was, this kind of missed the mark, and for obvious reason.
Yeah, and this felt like one that they were sort of building as one of the bigger matches. I feel as well. Yeah, and I think you have to it right. I wasn't aware that he was running with the knock, so that probably does explain why I think it was a
Yeah,
lot lower than a lot
I know
of
it
the other stuff.
hadn't been publicized, but that brawl they had, before the Jacobs Trevor Lee match, your call, we did pull up the last thing before we were separated for the final time. He dove off of the walkway, and at least before I was up in the back, you could see his ankle just. It wasn't like full on slap; it was a painful roll. So yeah,
Yeah.
better not to do a full schedule.
Of course, yeah.
Avoid
It was at the York Hall, wasn't it? When he jumped out, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
like 3 pull aparts and that last one where it was like or maybe you've gone a bit too far, and yeah, thankfully it wasn't too far because if I would have absolutely sucked if they'd lost this match because of an add on to a brawl.
Yeah.
But moving on, we had a Ricky Knight Jr. against Desire, so another one was built off of York also. These two met in Stevenage in July, would it be? June, July.
Yeah.
Ricky Knight won that one. They had the rematch at York Hall, which ended with Ricky getting KO'd with the Brock Lesnar shooting star press, shall we say. Uh, Whether it's legitimate or not, that got turned into an angle for this particular show, and all those ominous videos of, oh no, I'm back, you've awakened something inside me. And we got Finn Balor tribute, I guess you would say, in terms of body paint. I mean, it was a different look. And if that's the only time it's being kept, wheeled out, great. And I certainly can't see, all due respect to St. Neots, I can't see him putting the body paint on for no second on the card St. Neots. But thought for big match was a decent, decent crack of making it stand out. Bear in mind how quickly it's all rolled together. Um, the whole very wide six, whatever you want to call it, with the spooky intro with Zack Knight and Soraya under masks. I if they were looking for a reaction, it couldn't have been
It
a
didn't get the
positive
one they
one.
was intending.
Yeah, and again, not Soraya the whole weekend was like a lightning rod for various reasons, which I'm not going to touch the barge ball, but yeah, thankfully they didn't stay ringside for the match. This is again, it felt a bit like the Ricky Knight Jr. overwhelms his opponent kind of deal, which it can work, but when they've spent the whole year building Cesare as I mean he had the Beta Oku Night One build, and he hasn't lost that many. And again, this one, it's a loss, but it's not it's not like a Robbie X level of build losses. But I did feel like with this particular one, the match felt too much of a blowout for my liking. I don't know what you thought of it, Mike.
I think this was just a complete flop in general. To be honest, I feel like there were elements which were good. I think there were some excellent spots within the match, and I think one of the great things about Cesaro is he sells like he's been killed at some points, and I think that is great. I think the problem is that unfortunately, if Ricky Knight Jr. He's a great talent for Rev Pro. He's a great thing, but unfortunately, does come with a package deal with the rest of his family, and then that's an unfortunate thing about him as a wrestler because it does. You get uh, Zach. Is it Zach the other one?
Yeah,
Uh,
Zach's the one who's in AEW Ring of Honor. Yeah,
yeah, Zach comes with him, who I think is very limited, and you do get Paige, Soraya, but like at the end of the day, Soraya is she's never wrestling in Rev Pro unless something does get pulled out of the bag. Um, she's controversial. I think she gets negative heat, and it's not like villain heat. It's we don't want to see you because you've got awful views heat,
yeah.
and I think it's a lot of diminishing returns when you're sort of booking Ricky Knight in a prominent thing. And also there's the general unreliability thing that seems to be the case with Ricky Knight Jr., which he's a little bit less susceptible to, but it still is a factor. The paint gimmick has been done 100 times already. There's no shock value to it. It didn't particularly look that great, I don't think. He misspelled it's probably a Rev Pro issue rather than a Ricky Knight issue, but they misspelled Cesare's name in the kill kill Zazoya thing in the video. I don't know if you saw that, Ian.
No, I didn't. I don't think it was
Yeah,
on. At least the angle they had on the VOD, you couldn't see the video
yeah.
screen anyway.
Well,
So
the video screen it spelt Zazoya as wrong as Zazoya, so that was very good. Um, So then they push Ricky Knight Jr. as a killer, and at the end of the thing where you maybe might want to put over the fact that he's dangerous, he doesn't kill Zazaya. He just picks him up and handshakes him and what leaves him to like flop backwards like he's just done a high jump. Yeah, I think this was a bit of a dud. Apart from like there was a handful of very cool spots where Zazaya had sold like he'd been killed. I suppose in a way that is what it is, but
yeah, I think there's one bit which I was a bit worried about. So they had as I had the big push towards the end.
yeah,
The Death Valley drive off top rope didn't do it, and that's been his kill move.
yeah,
And thankfully they kept this short because I was kind of dreading this for whole. Like we had this with Noah Spirit Wembley the next day, but I've got my bigger move, and last time I hit it, injured the guy. Oh no, I've got to do this, and teased it didn't
yeah.
work. Um, and led to Ricky
And
Knight doing
whether we like it or not, Will Ospreay has an immense amount of influence over Rev Pro wrestling.
that and NXT tapes. I mean,
Yeah,
I was half expecting Johnny Gargano face here, but luckily we kept it short. Ricky Knight gets the win. So I guess he now says he only had two singles losses this year, but I I mean, I don't know I don't want to know what the plans were, but it feels like the guy who, his only big loss this year was to Anthony Gorgon, that in terms to set up a title match. This didn't feel like the big match you would expect them to build up to. And I don't know if this, for Stevenage, the whatever happened to your call, this was a happy accident, or whether I was always meant to win at your call. But this felt like maybe a stopgap, like something fell through, at whatever point to give us this. But
Steve, I was at the actually both of the other ones, and the Stevenage match. Ricky gave Zazaya nothing the entire match. He just basically threw him around for the whole match. Again, I don't know whether that was intentional, but it was just like he didn't give him anything. And like, surely, if you want to, push Zazaya as somebody who's, I think the sky is quite literally the limit for Zazaya. I think there's nothing. I don't think he can't. He's a prodigy of European wrestling. Like we have many others, but I think he's in that top sort of tier. And he got absolutely nothing in Stevenage. York Hall was slightly better, but it was still, I don't know. It didn't get, and I say I don't think it really got much more in this one. It was just still, and like if you're doing 3 matches in a row basically where Zazaya just gets nothing, I don't know. For me, it's this is not where he wants to be.
and I think you're talking about he's being noticed a lot more. Obviously, he's doing the shows in Berlin this weekend.
Yeah,
He also was a surprise addition to the progress card on Bank Holiday Monday. Now, unadvertised, he was added to a freeway, or a match became a freeway. So whether that was always in town, let's give him a go. But we all know what sometimes happens where I mean, Ricky Knight Jr. He was being pushed to the Christ, he was the bloody Rev Pro champion. And Progress booked him for next Hot Young Star tournament. So that's the kind of thing you always got to wonder is is it going to be a case of, and I know there's folks in Spain are saying no, it's only a matter of time before he gets a big deal. And I think that's the kind of thing you've got to be careful of is no, I don't think at this point I'm not saying material for running at the very top. I mean he's only been on roster for not even 6 months at this point. I think it's one of these where if you do have a fear that he's going to be gone, you make the most out of him because what you don't want is, oh yeah, he was with us. Yeah, he had a good start when he was middle of the cards for a while. So I think it'd be very interesting to see what happens with Desire coming out of this.
yeah,
And Ricky Knight Jr. The same issue had coming into this show is still there. He's since he lost the title a year or so back. Um, he's still been treading water, and it feels like we're missing something for him to sink his teeth into. And I no, and again, the other thing, you know, I don't say return, but the last time, when he did the big, I'm aggressive counter shift, the impetus there was Zach leaving to go to AEW Ring of Honor, and there's that one promo, I think it was 2 to 9, where said, everyone who everyone who I trusted, they left me. So you welcome your family back as seconds for your big show of the year. Like I know things change and also there's reasons, but that kind of felt like a line which really didn't jive with what we got here. And, if we go back to Rick Knight Jr., ask kicker, and hell if it goes back to maybe the title scene after coming to the end of the year, that could work. But again, it just feels like right now it's treading water, waiting
yeah,
for something to happen. Next
absolutely.
up, we spoke of Zai having beat Michael Oku on day one push. Another guy who beat Michael Oku on day one ish, Will Caven won the undisputed British Cruiserweight title, beating Cameron Kai, Neon El Fantasmo, Leon Slate, and surprise entrant Dante Martin to win the title. So I guess this is the Copper Box traditional match, 6-way scramble.
Yeah,
I thought it was perfectly fine. Again, 12 minutes. You weren't going to get that much in there. Um, I think everyone had was for Brian Catering. Everyone got their shit in to some extent. Um, I think it was one of those. I so this isn't like behind the curtain kind of thing, but I kind of had a feeling we were going to go with Caven after was it your call when getting through the James Castle inspired jacked at him after that match.
yeah,
Because obviously Caven, when he started, he went by the name Will Castle. I think it was, this was before he was on the quote main roster, but the whole thing was always meant to be James's brother, Kayfabe. And we're not. if you know, you know, but we're not playing into that, strongly, which
Yeah.
is good. But once they start, once we did the whole, this is your legacy, you've got to build it now. But yeah, well, you're not going to do that, and him, look weak in this match. And I thought, well, not to say that it's a sentimental win, but he had been pushed in Rev Pro somewhat consistently. And in fact, Cameron Kai, he had a shot in Neon in Stevenson, lost. Leon Slater was, dare I say, massive question marks because of the whole TNA thing.
On his
Uh,
ongoing.
Neon, yeah, if we're going to do a title change, well, yeah, we will Neon now because he's the champion. El Phantasmo, how long is he here for? I suspect only a couple of weeks, between New Japan runs. And obviously, he's been booked a lot in kind of a maple, in shows back in North America, so that's only a short term thing. Of course, Dante Martin, I think AEW's got enough belts, let's be honest here. So, we'll touch that in a second, but I thought it was perfectly fine. Caven doing the chicken shit thing of punting kind of balls and stealing the pin.
Great
Um,
finish on this one.
yeah, I mean, was that Kai was doing the rolling Northern Light suplex, but instead of one guy being thrown all over the places, do one guy, then pick up another guy. And was it Leon Slater and I forget, was it Neon was the other one? If it was doing a 2-for-1 on, and he punted Kai in the balls and pinned him. So yeah, again, I get big vote of confidence for a real homegrown guy in Caven. And yeah, be interesting to see what happens. Especially Robbie X, much like I joke about his awful win loss run in Rev Pro. Did good in CLNL over the weekend. So you may think as he can be one of the early contenders for this.
Yeah, I think probably Robbie X is the sort of person they probably will be pushing into that because they just tend to revert to Robbie X. I think when they run out of options, really, don't they? He's kind of the
Case of emergency Robbie X, yeah.
break glass. Yeah, I think that's probably about right. I think sort of as a match in general, this was quite a well put together sort of crazy spot fest sort of match. Dante Martin, I think everybody was just assuming there would be a AEW guy in it, and obviously it was Dante in the end, so that was pretty good. But yeah, I think it's a fairly good assessment. Fairly good assessment. I think Cameron Kai did look quite good in this one.
I mean, they've only just started pairing him with Leighton Buzzer too. Again,
Yeah,
let's go back to the WWE podcast. He has to be related to Robin Christopher for bad luck. I'm sorry, it's just too close to not being a hit.
I wondered if is his walking stick looked a bit like Gideon's.
I think Gideon's had a silver thing, or was a bit more innate, but maybe it's like the backup one. I
Yeah,
know
I
Leighton's
couldn't
still
see
coming from a knee injury,
my
but yeah.
section.
But so yeah, Neon, not only a fun thing to say, but now you're former cruiserweight champion. So yeah, whether that was a one-off experiment for CMLL, guess we'll find out. British J Cup, Christ, months time. That's coming
Yeah,
around
it's not
quickly.
long away. Not long away.
Next up, had Tomohiro Ishii over JJ Gale. So this was, I guess, the second year of having Tomohiro Ishii try to make someone a star. I think it kind of worked, but I think the issue with I want to compare JJ with Luke Jacobs. Gale primarily only works in Rev Pro. Like he does promotions, but in terms of any kind of tension or I'm missing words here. Any kind of like promotions which get eyeballs, at least online. Rev Pro's for one, the big one. Jacobs, when he had this match last year, he was somewhat regular in progress. He obviously done XW runs. He built a name for himself for 4 or 5 years. So
Yeah,
out for two, Jacobs came in more primed, I would say, for that breakout. Gale didn't. No, don't get me wrong. The Gale match wasn't a complete whiff, but I think he didn't seem to have the crowd as on side as he did with Luke last year. So, and I don't also feel like anybody really bought JJ was going to win. Let's be honest, it's the kind of thing. And all of us have said, "Oh well, it's Ishii, it's in Rev Pro. He's only going to lose when it's the top level." But I think this is more, JJ, test your metal. Can you hang on that level? And I think, yeah, he absolutely passed. I think if it started I was a bit worried when he started out. It's like, I'll just throw forearms into the hole. I'll throw 10, then get wiped out by one, and that seemed to be the pattern for a while. Um, yeah, eventually, he managed to chip away at Ishii, managed to get some stuff in, but I think at the end of the day, it was one of those where JJ Gale, at least against Big Tomish, same level as Luke Jacobs. I do wonder, can touch at the end, whether plans had changed based on storyline nuggets that have been left in the past. But I think this is one to make JJ Gale, but it maybe didn't come off at quite the same level as the match last year.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment. Yeah, I was very sort of look bit. I was very skeptical of Gale getting the Ishii thing. I think Gale that there's the building blocks of a very good wrestler in there. But without dragging up a name of the past, there's been lots of wrestlers who have only ever been in a Rev Pro, and that's the only place they've been, despite them being people who you'd think surely they could be elsewhere because they're putting out decent sort of level performances in Rev Pro. Um, why Rev Pro? I think without question is the biggest company in Britain, and some may even argue Europe in general. And somebody who is on the upper half of the second half of the biggest show of the year isn't getting elsewhere. It really boggles the mind, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I don't know whether it's a dip a day job and there's only enough time for one set of bookings, but like things like JJ Cale has been, I say, it's been around, but it's all been on like the this kind of level of show, Rev Pro, and then you're underneath that. It's like I
But
remember
but if you
going through,
consider, sorry, go.
yeah, I remember going through like cage match a while back. It's like always, again, I've thrown up now. He's been going since 2016.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, you can argue, well, again, cage match for beyond a certain level of pressurized doesn't capture much. Like he had a run in 2017 in in LDN on and off before we start doing Rev Pro as it White Shoes was the pet name is given. He was attacked by Hechicero. There's a huge blast from the past. And did that little feud, then became contender and where you are now. Um, and, yeah, I mean, for some bookings of P which just absolutely jump out as a what the hell?
well,
Like was
like
he's done like stuff in America for us, like through LDN tie. He's even worked Germany.
yeah, it worked on EW, didn't it? Yeah,
With
I think
Kurt, yeah,
I think this it's just always been very confusing because it's there's if we consider there to be a tier, and I think is a reasonable assessment to say about wrestling. Like, uh, sorry, not Gabriel. JJ Gale is on the top tier. He works in the top tier promotion. He works in Rev Pro. Um, and at that top level, you have Progress. I'm going to lump them in the same thing. You do have OTT. He doesn't work. He works in Rev Pro only. The second tier, you look at people like probably like um, uh, Riot Cab, people like that. He's not working in
attack
those.
maybe,
He's What's that?
attack as well. Maybe that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
new wave.
So Riot Cab, Attack, them sort of people. North, those sort of people, probably just on the second tier. The third tier, you have a lot of other things, but then you have the local tier, where you have people like um, Prime Wrestling in Newcastle or something like that, or UKPW, those sort of things. And no disrespect to any of those promotions, but it's very strange that he's in this place and the bottom tier. He's not in anywhere in between. Like he's worked Purpose a few times. That's maybe on the third tier, but it's a very odd sort of dynamic for him.
Yeah, and I think probably it's worth saying is that Southwest Wrestling, years there, champion there. And again, that's part of the thing, cage match. It's very much, so be careful using that as to draw any kind of firm conclusions. But yeah, in terms of outside of Rev Pro, you don't really see much of it. You'd hope, after this match and maybe, the
Yeah.
GWF stuff we're touching on, that's going to change. But yeah, it's one of those, it's a good one for the CV, and we'll see if that can be built up into anything. Um,
I'd love JJ to get more bookings elsewhere because I think he's he's running the risk of working the same people over and over again.
yeah,
He needs to work. He needs to work other people,
yep,
and he's not. If he goes and works, somebody in Liam Slater in North or something like that, he's gonna get something more out of that than working Connor Mills 6 times a year in Rev Pro. It's
yeah.
just a
And
reality.
reps against different people can never be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Next up, I had a no DQ 10-woman tag. So we had the Cutthroat Collective, Alex Windsor, Lizzie Evo, Mercedes Blaze, Nina Samuelson, Sapphire Reach taking on Rio, Giselle. I've given away. Rio, Debbie Keitel, Kanji Nightshade, and mystery partner Giselle Shaw back for the first time in about 4 years. This completely blew me away. Like, I worried, it's 10-woman tag. It's going to be, full of shenanigans, shortcuts, ref, no cheating, that kind of thing. This was just absolutely batshit from the off. And the no DQ thing, I think in the last episode, I thought of, since we made that, it'll be Emerson Jane because she's been into deathmatch stuff. Giselle Shaw completely after left field, and I'm kind of glad it caught me by surprise. But yeah, this one was full of plunder, but not be I hit you for bin and we wander, I hit you with a chair and we wander. This was like very little downtime, and again, one of those most coherent. Had was it Nightshade? Giving the mood to scale a damn good run for its money at one point. Rio bled as well. So this one, was I would say convincing one, but absolute slugfest.
Yeah, it was a very good, and I think it's kind of cementing the view I have in my head that um, I think I think Alex Windsor was brilliant in this match, and I think at this point Alex Windsor is genuinely the probably, if not the best, in the top 3 best wrestlers in the entire country at the moment. I think that's not an unreasonable thing to say. I think the output she's having at the moment, especially in big matches, she's justifying that label for me. I think she's doing more interesting things, and she's willing to sort of go the extra mile in these big matches, and it's really elevating them. I think for me into a much better level than I think the women's wrestling has ever been in at least in Rev Pro. So I think it's been it, she was a real star in this. But I think all in all, actually, I think there was some brilliant spots in this match. I thought Nightshade was actually very impressive, considering she's maybe had a uh, few not quite so good matches in Rev Pro recently. But I thought she did sort of re-establish herself. I think for me at least is one of the someone who I think is worth a lot of attention in Rev Pro.
I think it's one of those, they obviously played at the tables because that's been I guess, the main trope, I guess you'd say. As
Yeah,
far as Nightshade got put through a table at the Broadale and Stevenage,
yeah,
so that was the main, I don't say weapon, the main spot they used throughout. Um, I think it's one of those, like say, it's been very easy to do the, we've got weapons, war control, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think the blood definitely helped up, up
Always helps.
the viciousness of all. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so the end came as Rio trying to do a superplex on Giselle Shaw through a table. Mercedes Blaze stopped it, took out a velvet bag, and we all know what that means in wrestling:
Yeah,
drawing pins. And it was
real
like
pins, Crimea River.
well, it did lead to the pin, as like twisting superplex. And all I say is, Windsor took more than her fair share of those things as well into the back.
Yeah,
But yeah, that to me, absolute hell of a match. And bear in mind, you look how maligned Rev Pro women's division's been. Like, way back when, it was always the Virginia division. It was Ginny versus whoever Andy was able to get hold of for that time of month.
yeah,
now, you mean this match alone, you've got 10 names who, well, 9, because I don't think Michelle Soros going to be sticking around. Michelle already back in North America, but you've got 9 names there who could easily swap in and out of matches and feuds, and they're doing that still. And the fact this was Cutthroat Collective winning,
Yeah.
this one's a long way from over. And
Yeah,
if a lot of matches can be like this, great.
yeah, and I think you can. So this is the 5 versus 5, but over the next few shows, and it feels very refreshing to talk about a promotion which has lots of shows coming up. Um, sorry, not knocking anyone. Um, but like over the next few shows, you can swap these out. You could do a Lizzie, Mercedes, and Nina tag against Kanji, Rio, and Nightshade. You can do a 2v2 tag. You can do the singles, and I think there's a lot of value in all of them. And I think we'll obviously get into the women's title in a moment, but it, there's what I say about Alex Windsor as being the best in the country by miles. Um, it's very refreshing that she's not just hot shotted straight into the women's title picture, because there's or at least for now anyway, there was always a little bit of a worry that you put the title on the absolute best person, and there's never anybody justifiable who can beat them.
Yeah,
I think they're
we've
very
had the
lucky.
long Windsor reign as well.
Yeah, we've had the long Windsor reign, and I think Danny Luna is a credible champion against Windsor. She's a credible champion against um, whomever. Um, but it's good value that the strongest isn't necessarily straight away in the title picture. There's other people, and I wouldn't even be horrified if Nightshade or Kanji sort of was in that picture as well. Nina as well. There's a lot of good stuff, and I think it's a real breath of fresh air, especially not only for Rev Pro but for Brit Wrestling in general. It's company taking it seriously,
Yeah,
and it's not tokenism.
yeah. I know there were complaints about, oh, you've stuck all your women's division in one match. Like, well, it feels like with Rev Pro in particular, and yeah, it's justified. Those years of Virginia division didn't help. It's like, what? And again, I know the answer as well. Want more matches? Yeah, I understand that. But this is biggest show of the year. We've had this storyline building up, so yeah, you're not going to have a 5 match series because that's something we'll probably do over a weekend. I know, we're looking down, late in the year, we've got the commentary thing, the double header there. That's something they could do over a weekend, if not, the feud's still going. But yeah, this, for what it was, an absolute blow-away match, and I think it's one of those that might, I don't think it's going to sneak onto any match of the year ballots or anything like that, but as a, extremely pleasant surprise. It's
Yeah,
one to show, Rev Pro, shouldn't be keeping their women's division to just one match if they can help it.
yeah. I think that I'll take this opportunity because I'm on it, but I think that the one that does sneak on to probably onto some of it may sneak onto a ballot for me this year is the dog collar match from York Hall in,
Yes.
and that was April time, wasn't it? That certainly will be one that may be in consideration towards the end of the year for me. So, um, but that's I digress with that.
Match vs stuff. Yeah, that's end of March. Yeah, that'll definitely be on a lot of people's ballots. Unlike and maybe me being a bit presumptive, next match I think a lot of people took this as the unexpected intermission. Gabe Kidd over Donovan Dijak in just over 10 minutes. This one they tried. I mean, Gabe and Dijak were lumping into each other from the off, but yeah, I don't know. And I don't want to say, oh well, it's because of how Dijak is online, but I honestly think if that we had, was it you had Robbie X in
CML.
in oh yeah, it's your call, sorry.
Oh,
And
sorry.
then you had Robbie X at your call, and that one was fine, but again, Robbie X wasn't going anywhere, and thought, well, okay, he's going to Mexico. Thought, well, his win loss record was going to just be one thing. He also had Oku and Coventry loss, so it was too much run, and then missed one. It's like, well, no. To me, this I don't know whether this was Gabe Kidd's initial match, but Kid isn't around in Rev Pro much these days, so this felt like he's a guy we've had with Zack Sabre Jr. as well, so it's not like always in town or we shouldn't book him. But it just felt like it was a match was like thrown together rather than one was built at one promo side. Um, I think no, a lot of people they say it didn't help. It was right where an intermission would have been, and I think a lot of people just tuned out of this one.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people possibly, I say a lot of people, I'm literally saying my opinion. I think there's a lot of people who are very not tuned out of Gabe Kidd as a wrestler. I think, at least maybe with the people I'm around. I don't know. This always anecdotal, and there was 4,000 people there, so maybe I am in the minority there. But I think Gabe Kidd is someone I've been tuned out of for a long time. I don't feel like he's really credible, but obviously he's doing well in New Japan. So
I think
Jack I've
I
always
think
enjoyed, but to
I
an
think it's
extent.
got to be stuff. It's got to tone down, I would guess. Like I think with Gabe, it's when he goes full bore into the "I'm a madman" and that kind of stuff, it can get very cringy.
Yeah, but
Um,
you say that, but you know, I think it's not a unreasonable thing to say that everybody who we know is, well, I say everybody, vast majority of people we know are fed up of the Will Ospreay bruv stuff. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that, but it's incredibly popular with the American TV audience, and I think Gabe Kidd is probably leaning into the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah. I think with the Osprey stuff, I don't think it's helped that it's been merchandised the way it has.
yeah,
Uh, but I also think, obviously New Japan isn't, at least amongst the kind of people we hang around with, New Japan isn't as big as a must see hot ticket as it was 5 years ago.
of course, of course.
I think New Japan always do. It was with G1 last year when he had that big push, and every match is the same thing. There
Yeah,
was going with the crowd, the brawls, and and some people, even when we did this, at New Japan's, peak when Bad Luck Fale re-debuted, and the big thing was he did the Bad Luck Fall, and everyone was being carted out to put up how deadly the move was. That got people rolling their eyes, but that's where they do it because it's not the same crowd all the time. Problem is, when an era now where everything's pretty much taped, and when you see the same thing on and on and on, it's like, oh, for God's sake, change the channel, do something else. And I think that's kind of what's played in here. But as a match, I thought was fine, just not really, not a good spot. I'll be honest, I don't think anywhere in this card, just based on the names involved. I don't think it's one of those combinations I don't think it's ever going to click.
it's one of them matches that it got hype from people who were never going to go to the show.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that's beside the point. It did what it was probably intending to do. It was about as good as I expected it to be, as in not very. So,
Moving on, we had tag title defense, Sunshine Machine beating the Grizzled Young Veterans. So the whole, we lose, we're done, that carries on. Uh, so yeah, this one. So when they started the whole thing, I figured, well, it's going to go to Copper Box, and that's where it's going to end because he felt, we weren't going to, all due respect, we weren't going to break the team up in Sheffield.
yeah,
It's these kind of things always climax at a big event. This was a big event. Um, I was torn whether it was going to. I honestly thought this was going to be where it ended, because you had the happier moments coming late in the card, expectedly. The fact that Drake and Gibson very popular in AEW the next day, I don't know if that forced a hand or change of plans. I don't particularly know nor care. But this is now, I guess,
they've barely
officially.
been around, have they?
I think was they won the belts. When was it? They won the belts in February? I want to say high stakes. No, Rev Rumble end of March, and they had the next night Southampton against Sunshine Machine, Fantastica Mania against Atlantis and his son, and yeah, so three defenses. Again, I was suspecting, okay, if there's a title change because we couldn't get the dates, well, again, we don't know if it's exclusive, whether it's the in for few dates are gone thing, but yeah, title change being done. Grizzled Young Vets out of Rev Pro run to me really didn't come close to think what people were expecting. But this is now the end of the beginning for Sunshine Machine, so we're now getting to the point where it literally is ride or die. And Houston, I don't know whether they try and wordsmith their way around this. They always said the next time they lose, they're no longer a team. Well, you're tag team champions. You can lose the belts without you can lose but not lose the belts. So is that something that they try and stay clear from because do you have that whole thing of hypothetically TK costing man because we did tease a walkout in this match. TK saw sense and came back. You know, and for my money, if they do a split, it's TK who's going to be the one turning because I think a lot of people always said he's got more mileage as a bad guy. But
Yeah.
do you do that where TK's had enough? I'm having to drag you up the shit, so to speak, and that's where you go. But yeah, I think as a matchup again was fine. I think people were they were literally biting for everything by the end. Because again, Sunshine Machine, whether you think they've been run into the ground, in the past or whether you still love them, people don't like seeing long-standing tag teams broken up, especially when we've had the months of the storyline of come so close, and oh god, this might be it. Yeah, pretty decent match. If I did the fake walkout, again, it's the beginning of the end, you'd say now. But Sunshine Machine, we'll touch on this. What tag division is there? Because you had 4 tag teams in the pre-show, but the guy who won the pre-show isn't a regular tag team. So now it's a case of do you pull Youngblood in there? They've got stuff with Greedy Souls. Do you have Santos and Francisco as the first team? And that's the thing we've got to kind of figure out. It's great you've got tag team champions. Now actually can have tag titles around the company a lot more than you did, for most of the year. Now it's the case you've got to have someone ready for that next spot because as we go through at the end, they've got a lot of bigger shows coming up.
Yeah, I think the tag division there is a little bit of there's always been a bit of a dearth because I don't think they've ever really taken it that seriously. I think Youngblood is a worthy competitor. They can. There's always the Portugals. There's the Greedy Souls. That's always there. James and Samuels. I don't know if they want to do anything more with that. I don't know. There's a few. Lycos Gym is always one of these things which can appear and disappear as and when they want as well. Yeah, it's this. I would just. Are they going to be doing the tag league again this year? Do we know?
They haven't said they obviously have announced the trios thing, but you would expect it's a tag league because I mean, the teams you've mentioned, they had was the Brixie Bone Breakers from Italy. They've had in a few times. True and Lacey always pretty damn good value. But yeah, to me, we've certainly got the teams for it. I think it's just a case of I'm looking at what they've got announced. I suspect if they do a tag league, you'd pretty much have to start it. I would say pretty much British Jacob or that weekend, and then have that run all the way through to expect to be your call somewhere in November, December time or Crystal Palace, and run all the way through there because yeah, we've got the shows to run it.
Yeah.
It's just a case of can they get the bookings? I know was it last year they had the Billington Bulldogs, and their availability because they're based in Canada. That was a bit hairy at points, but yeah, definitely it's one they should do. It's been a fixture since COVID, so there's absolutely no reason not to.
Yeah.
Up next, the Undisputed British Women's Championship. Mina Shirakawa making her UK debut. Of course, she was replacing Stephanie McCurr after she got signed. And this was an upset I was not expecting. Leaving Copperbox with the Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's title. Danny Luna's reign brought to a shuddering end. I think the only takeaway I really got from this match had the belt, come to 9 months. I felt this match, I don't say it didn't click, but the crowds, like Danny Luna, kind of lent into, being the baddie in this. I mean, Shirakawa's music from the off got people going, and that's me not sending half of Copperbox to horny jail, but your opinion may vary, Mike. But I thought it was one of those where the crowd took to Shirakawa from the off, and just kind of left Danny Luna kind of marooned. Like she felt like she had to like maneuver herself into a role where the match wasn't going to be clunky. She succeeded, but this wasn't with Danny Luna we'd seen, beat Alex Windsor and be the dominating champion for the best part of last year.
Yeah, it was. I suppose that there is obviously the justification that like Shirakawa is on that top echelon of women's wrestlers. She's featured in probably the biggest women's feud in an American promotion this year. Quite a key feature. So to have not being funny, having the Rev Pro belt around American TV is probably not necessarily a bad thing. I think business wise that makes a lot of sense. I do agree with you maybe on Danny's performance in this one. It was a bit disjointed in places. But I think all in all, I think it was a decent sort of showing from both. Interested to see whether the women's title goes. To say it does go on tour a little bit.
Yeah,
Obviously,
because
she is.
Shikara is she has relocated to America for the time being.
Yeah, she's really
Um,
headed to America, but she could take it back to Stardom as well.
yeah, because there
So
has been that relationship, just hasn't been leveraged anyway.
and they,
So
they, they, in fairness, they have said that Andy has said that we would like it to be more than it is, and I suppose there's no better way to do it than put the title on one of the biggest people in the company. So
and I suppose again, not to get too political, Ross Ogawa no longer part of Stardom, so that's I guess if you believe the rumours that pain in the arse, but some promoters have brought up is no longer there. So it's a complete new office. It's not now
well,
part of New Japan, I believe, in terms of organisation. So it's the same office Andy deals with for pretty much everything else in Japan.
and I think yeah, and I'm not going to profess to be an expert on Stardom at all. I'm not even going to go there, but I will say that it is a promotion that does seem to be for a long time there was a reputation about Stardom, and some of the things that were decisions that were there. Now that it seems like a lot of that has maybe gone to Marigold, Stardom can probably push itself to be more of a, not that it wasn't a serious promotion, but it can push itself to be a more um, how do I say it? It can be considered more of a legitimate promotion than it possibly was
Yeah,
for a
you're
while.
not getting like the
Yeah,
creepiness that you would
yeah,
usually come in
that
with.
was always the thing, and I think Stardom, I think for a lot of people, because it was always has been a bit of a sort of a gateway promotion to Joshi for a lot of people, but I feel that maybe there's been an element of Stardom lost a lot of ground to Tokyo Joshi. I think in the last, at least since the pandemic, I would say,
Yeah.
and yeah, it, having this belt around that company, it's not something to be ashamed of anymore. So yeah, I'm
No,
pretty
and
happy with that.
again, the Cutthroat Collective thing's the main storyline right now, so it's not.
Yeah,
No, I mean we've had this 12 year for FPO. The tag titles have kind of been on ice. The cruiserweight belt, has been nice. I mean, there is some.
the
Forgot
world
to mention
title has barely been, for the past. It's only in the last year that the world title, sorry, the British title has been in the country like
it's
for
been
4
like
months. So
frequently on shows. Yeah,
it's
I
been
mean,
it's been in Zack or Osprey's hands for God knows how long. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, it's not as if there's. And I think when they don't have all the titles, it doesn't necessarily mean that you know one's missing because you can focus on the other three. It's not a problem.
we had also the cruiserweight belt. And I forgot to mention this earlier. No, that again being in CMLL, that being kind of frozen. I mean, this is a bit of a gripe, but South year, Leon Slater was a champion, lost to Jordan Breaks. Jordan's not been around since he lost to Neon.
Yeah,
Like he was working this weekend, so it's like, well, you couldn't have put him in on this, make the 7-man scramble. Like, I don't know, there's just something about that. Again, this is me being, oh, accused because you've done the title change, but he's not been back since. Like, what happened? Because it wasn't like he was there as champion and people just didn't like him. It wasn't
yeah.
like he was there champion people booing him out the building or sitting on their hands. So, that to me just always struck me as weird. But yeah, was getting at was, tag titles, had the cruiserweight belt, they've been barely around, and we've had those divisions rumble on. So I guess now the Cutthroat Collective storyline is going to be, bearing a lot of weight, uh, especially as we suspect Shirakawa will be only coming in for the big shows. And if she is, tied to AEW for the short term, that could complicate things as well. If it means you end up with, Shirakawa and the Rev Pro women's title on Ring of Honor for the how many people watch it, on paper it's a
It's
boost,
not a
but
bad thing, I
yeah,
don't think. And the other thing you could do, in theory, is you could do an Alex Windsor Shirakawa match for the British title on AEW or Ring of Honor,
yeah,
and
well, that could be a collision match.
yeah, it's entirely possible that can do, and that would be beneficial for, I think, everybody involved. Really, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah,
Sorry, you did briefly mention Jordan Breaks. Obviously, one of the many other shows that was over in the week. Was the Pro Wrestling Ceasefire show on Thursday. So the wrestling weekend obviously started a day earlier, because last year it was just the Friday night, which was Riot Cabaret. This year they had Pro Wrestling Ceasefire in London, which is, as far as I know, it's Chuck Mambo and TK Cooper's. It was a charity show for a very good cause. For the Palestine Fund, but he did have a match with not Rio, sorry,
Kanji.
with Kanji, and it was reportedly very, very good. I unfortunately have not had a chance to watch it yet, but it's on my to watch list. I'm going to watch it immediately after this show, actually.
Yeah.
But it is available on YouTube on that thing, so that's one to maybe certainly check out if you have a spare 20
Yeah.
minutes.
I covered it on the website. I think they rushed it up on the Saturday morning.
Yeah,
So I watched it all going to Copper Box. It's a really good match.
yeah,
Um, what I would say is just because of the audio issues we had, and I believe this is the version I've got up is still the cut from the live feed.
okay,
Stick it on mute.
yeah.
The
But but
sound
but,
peaks
but
on
regardless,
between
people
the
said it
belts.
was very good.
Really good match. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, so with
And
that in
not
mind.
that long either, like 15 minutes, including introductions. So, yeah,
Yeah, so
perfect
it's
lunchtime watch.
something you can watch on a tea break or something. But yeah,
Yeah,
I just wanted to throw that out, obviously, because it's a company which I think has good intentions, which yeah, definitely worth their support. And I think they've got t-shirts out as well. So that's
yeah. If you want to look it up, because YouTube, it's Google, their search has gone to crap. YouTube.com/@ pro wrestling ceasefire. That should
yeah,
take you to the channel
yeah,
if Kanji versus Jordan Breaks doesn't throw anything up.
definitely.
Up to the top two matches, and both these, you could coin toss for which was my favorite night. Zack Sabre Jr. Beating Hechicero just under 25 minutes. This was everything I expected and then some. Just if you're into, like, speaking of Jordan Breaks, the technical wrestling stuff, this was just absolutely smooth.
Yeah, this was class, and I think this was uh, the ticket purchasing. This was the one that bought people bought tickets for. I think. Anybody who was sort of umming and ahhing, anyone who knows anything, I think I would say, who was maybe umming and ahhing over this show. I think this got announced, and I was in a Twitch chat with uh, with a number of people, and I said, "By the way, Rev Pro's just announced this," and I think 4 or 5 people went, "All right, well, I'm buying tickets now." So yeah, that was
I do
that's
wonder if it was a late surge after Sabre won the G1.
I would hope so. I would certainly hope so.
People maybe sitting on the fence and going, oh, okay, we'll be there, give them a bit. Because
Yeah,
Rev Pro have done this a few times. Obviously, Osprey after Best of Super
the
Juniors.
first time, yeah.
Um, so yeah, you've had the the homecoming stuff.
Yeah, you have
Um,
to, surely.
yeah, I mean, let's say as a match, I think only next would say is it maybe came close to feeling like it overshot its welcome here. And again, because we were at the thick end of the evening, you had the main event, but Oku big time title match is always going to go along. But I mean, this one was about the same length as the women's match, and the only reason that it felt like it was going along is because it's about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and you were really starting to clock watch a bit. But yeah, things won't. No, let's say if you're into this kind of thing, plunk down your money, RevProOnDemand.com, watch it. It's going to be worth every single second. It's going to be worth your subscription alone for the month. Even if you don't like anything else on this show, hunt this out. It's worth the $8.49. However much we're charging US dollars right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree that it's everything you expect it to be. It did the job perfectly. I thought it was a very smart match. I don't know if it's as good as the one that was in CMLL. I think it was that one. I think it was there, wasn't it? I
Yeah, the
don't.
best out of 3 falls. Yeah, I've not seen that one, but I've heard plenty of good things about
Yeah,
it.
I'm not sure if it was quite at that level, but I think it was. Yeah, it was certainly worthy of your attention for sure.
And then main event, Luke Jacobs, of course he won the Revolution Rumble back in March, taking on Michael Oku for the title. And coming off the Southampton show a week earlier, my big criticism was, they had the Young Guns against Oku and Cesaro match and Oku doing the whole Super Cena thing. That was completely off back window. And we didn't have Oku coming with an injury, which why do the whole thing in Southampton, but I digress. We had Luke Jacobs coming out like a cowboy. Was it Bon Jovi, Wanted Dead or Alive?
Yeah,
No,
brilliant.
Rev Pro don't do the big match entrances, but when they do, it's the whole. If everything's great, nothing's great. If everything's a special entrance, nothing's a special entrance.
That was
And
a
this was,
masterstroke, genuinely. I think that
and
was that set the scene, and it that was never something that was teased or I thought at first it was another video starting.
yeah,
I always thought it
Oku
was like,
like
oh,
fight last year.
like when they've a few times when they've got unfortunately I don't remember the fella's name, but the guy who does the sort of the short video edits before they did it sometimes for the Osprey matches where they do the they're like 30-second teasers, aren't they?
Yeah,
With the music, and I thought, oh, there's another one of those, and then I was like, oh, hang about, this is like great stuff, and yeah, brilliant. Best entrance of the weekend, and I think if you think of and that comes from All In weekend, I think yeah, fantastic, brilliant stuff, absolutely brilliant stuff.
and if you want to get mesh with it, Luke, he's done the modern nomads. I don't say cosplay wrestling. That's another old podcaster's trope to hammer down. But when he's done the character stuff, a bit masterstroke. I think it was the Toy Story theme. He used
Yeah,
that same getup. So this same look, but deadly serious here.
he did also don a cowboy hat at Carrot, didn't he?
Yeah,
The
well,
Thomas Shives.
that was more of a being polite, but it suits them. That's for
Yeah,
damn sure. But yeah, so this one was, I would say, this was Luke's biggest singles match of his career, and at least in terms of main event, biggest crowd, is a
yeah,
pretty built storyline, and yeah, this was absolutely fantastic. Like throughout, from day one, I've said in the review, Michael Oku's biggest strength has been the underdog. He's
yeah.
bulked up a lot since those early days. He's not the scrawny kid who looks like a breeze would snap in half. That's something. If you've watched every single match of his from day one, you could easily miss. But this was early going. Jacobs absolutely blitzing through him. Oku almost grasping at straws to get an opening. And I think, was it the crossbody that sent the two to the outside? That seemed to be like a big turning point. Luke, getting bloodied, and from there it was pretty much all systems go from there. I think the one thing was maybe backfired against Oku, and Andy on commentary made the same point. Oku had his playbook, and that made him extremely predictable for Luke. And in fair, by the end, Luke was just twatting Oku lariat. So you want to talk predictable, But again, if and legitimately, I've heard people make the same complaint when the Fosbury flopping always does the old Icelandic, the
Well,
delayed clap.
I wouldn't say
That
that's
was like a
Icelandic.
giveaway. Well,
That's not
it was
Icelandic.
popularized, I guess. The whole
The clap and Fosbury flop is obviously maybe it's me because I'm used to be an athlete. It's before you do a high jump, you do the clap to get the crowd going, and the Fosbury flop is obviously the high jump. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
That's
that whole
how I read it.
setup. But again, I'm the first thing from an athlete, so there you go. But in terms of like the setup, like I've heard people complain. Well, no, in real life, if you did that, you're just giving the other guy a lot of heads up, but you're going to jump on him.
Yeah,
And yeah,
Shawn
people
Michaels
have
used
been
to
using
stomp
that.
his feet before he did
Yeah,
his hit good music. I don't know.
and I think it does play. And to be fair, that does play into a few times. But I think that's the thing. Most it's been people who haven't seen Open, haven't been in from day one with him. It's been like,
Yeah,
oh, why is he doing that? He's just giving it away. It's like, well, it is kind of breaking immersion, but it's also it relies on you as a fan
yeah.
having that investment and playing along with it. But
I
yeah,
I I 100% agree with you there. And I think Oku. I think there's a lot of criticism that goes towards Oku. I think some of it can be quite unfair. I think he's someone, if you've been on the ground floor with him, you're with him,
yeah.
100%.
I mean,
I would count
were
myself as
you
sorry.
were you there for that for his first match? Progress when we're doing the Freedom Roll taping.
No, I never did in the Freedom Road, but I did see him very very early on. I remember him
So
when he had the cast as well.
yeah, so I
So
was there. Like this back in the day when I was doing pretty much everything. Um, I was on a Freedom Road taping as him and Big T.
yeah,
There's someone who never got the point parts of wrestling or British wrestling I would expect it. Him and Big T against Alex Cooper and Dylan D'Angelo, a couple
yeah,
of names who one got cancelled for whatever reason. And that was Oku's first, no, and also was his first match. I mean, no, he's got to have done something. No, that legitimately was his first match in wrestling. Um, it's also there for the World Pro Wrestling tapings. I mean, being around Rev Pro doing he's doing like doing ticket taking, what have you, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Like everyone does for the pop up on the shows. Um, as a contender, losing to Great Khan, the World Pro Wrestling show. So there's two first. I mean, there was of course the speculation going into the weekend that this could be it for Oku. He dropped the Riot Cabaret title on the Friday night. There's been a lot of speculation, planted by whoever I don't know nor care, but a lot of speculation that he had an AEW contract and this was him wrapping up. But you still have that feeling of Luke has been built, had been almost nailed on cert to win, but what if he wasn't? And that's where
yeah,
it wasn't like 1-2. Oh, he's just kicked out 1-2. And when Oku got the half crab, it was a spell near the end. Oku got the half crab on, and this is how much A, the crowd wanted to see the new champion, but B, also thought that was going to be a finish. Michael Oku, beloved good guy in Rev Pro, was getting booed out of the building.
yeah.
And for me, a prospect that half crab was actually going to do it.
I tell you, it was very reminiscent of if we go back to a Rev Pro show that I held a lot of fondness for was the Osprey Vader show. There was the Jeff Cobb versus Zack Sabre Jr. match on that show, and I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember that one, Ian.
I was there, but I airbrushed a lot of that show in my mind.
Brilliant! One of the best shows ever I've ever been to.
I need to rewatch it, but at the time, I think this one was just because of the fallout from all of it just felt a bit.
Yeah, absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant. One of the best entertainment experiences I've ever had in my entire life. Anyway, but there was a period that it was mad that you say that, but when organically everybody decided, hang about, this guy's an arsehole. Not saying Oku is, but there was just a section just halfway through the Jeff Cobb and Sabre Jr. match where Sabre just started laying in on them kicks, and then all of a sudden it went from like yay to all it was like, oh, hang about, and then everybody just was behind Jeff Cobb. Um, this felt like it had the same thing, and it does suggest to me that I don't think Oku's gone full time, at least for now. Um, it does suggest to me that there is legs in Oku as the wounded puppy who's angry and fighting a bit dirtier. I think there's a lot of legs in that. I think at least in Rev Pro.
and he has worked bad guy in Battle Club, I think, but Purpose is the main one that's
Yeah,
had eyeballs on. It was what was it Chris Hatch? He did with
yeah,
completely out of left field. had a feud with led to a match with Chris Hatch of all people, where,
And
you know,
the,
spin off of David Francisco. So
the
that's the thing where he does play that kind of dickhead character really well.
and the reality is that historically having your girlfriend, Amira as your plus one is it's a traditionally that's a heel move to have a beautiful
Oh,
woman with you.
at times it is
Yeah,
absolutely grating. I
exactly.
mean that in a no, but I mean that not a oh I can't stand you guys. It's like I say
Yeah,
historically that kind
yeah.
of pairing is always a
It's
yeah.
a heel move. So I think there's you could code switch in from being to going into a heel turn. I think very easily and very quickly. I think genuinely. Not that Andy likes to do anything quickly,
No,
but
but what I would say though is like
yeah,
historically, I'm talking like European wrestling, not just Brit Res, but
yeah,
Brit Res is not famed for this. We are awful for the step after a guy loses the title. Like you look,
yeah,
we've seen like so we're not Rev Pro in particular. Guy wins the big one. When they lose, unless they disappear, they are treading water.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And with this, I think Oku he's doing stuff in Berlin this weekend. He's got JJ Gale on Sunday for 229. So if that's a farewell, guess we'll see. Oh, it is interesting with the same outlets that were reporting before the weekend that Oku has a contract or has had contract talks with AEW, and now saying that it isn't even a thing. So
yeah.
who
Well,
knows
it's
whether
funny
that
how
was
that
planned?
works, isn't it?
Yeah, is that planned just to sow seeds in? And hey, if that was the case, it bloody well worked because
Yeah.
not like it wasn't just one or two smart marks going, oh boo, he's taking the belt. It was like a visceral hatred at the end when they thought, oh god, he's winning this again, and he's gonna we backed him against him, and he's walking off to he's gonna sod off to AEW with the belt.
Well,
Yeah,
like
I mean, as a
Shirakawa, though, it does make sense for Andy to put the British belt on American TV.
yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
But yeah, I mean, it's this, Luke Jacobs' crowning moment, ended, bloodied, battered, but not beaten. And first man in in Brit to have held the Progress and Rev Pro heavyweight belts at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, and if you want, if you want to go down that path, I think the only other guy who
Has held both.
has held both, not at the same time, obviously, but who's held both of the main titles. Um,
I can think of two.
we obviously was one we're not talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Fuck him. But Will Ospreay's the one,
yeah,
who is sort of welcome, I guess.
yeah.
But adding the fact that I guess joined the same. Well, Ospreay couldn't have, but Luke also has the whole distinction of being the two-weight champion because he had the cruiserweight and the Atlas belt at the same time 2 years ago in Progress and Rev Pro. So
In a way, he's actually he is well and truly the undisputed British champion, isn't he?
and
Well and
I guess some are
un,
saying the ace of British wrestling
undeniably,
these days.
undeniably the
King of
British,
London, yeah.
undeniably, yeah. Because
So
there's no other belt. Well, your mileage will vary on Progress. This is not a Progress podcast, so it's fine. But I, I don't think there's nothing as close. Nothing close to the British Heavyweight Championship, and if there was, it would probably be the Progress one.
yeah.
So yeah,
So where next Rev Pro then? I mean, obviously we're going to go for the upcoming shows, but AW back in London next year for Forbidden Door, but they've explicitly said it's not going to be Wembley Stadium. They haven't said an arena, so is it going to be the O2? Is it going to be Wembley? Do they go somewhere completely left field? Do they do Wimbledon? Do they do Lord's Cricket Ground? Do they do they
Twickenham.
beg for Premier League for Twickenham? Do they beg for Premier League for Fulham to have a couple of away games and have it at Craven Cottage? The fact that
Luton did that last season.
you haven't building work done.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's one of those. Logically, you'd think the O2 or Wembley Arena, but that almost feels like overcorrection because the I don't say the grifters, but a lot of the chatter on podcasts.
bad faith. Bad faith.
Yeah, bad faith. And some of them sold tricks themselves. But some of the bad faith stuff was, oh, it's we're tanking. It's 80,000 last year. Now we're struggling to 50,000. Okay, so Wembley is 10,000. O2's 18, 20,000. That's a hell of an overcorrection from a 1 year where your product as a whole is stone cold. I mean, not to turn into an AEW podcast. You look at how AEW's attendance in America is going now. To be fair, this was the same last year, but no, they're running, as we record this tonight, they're running Dynamite in the Champaign, Illinois. As it says, buying time looking for the WrestleTix thing. That ticket, that crowd number was not looking good. Um, yeah, but it's not shown on WrestleTix, but yeah, but they're like, but general ticket sales not looking great. Like we've got it was like some like Dynamite Collision tapings have got next month haven't even cracked 1,000, which yeah, you could argue, well, you're running too big a builds, you overcorrect there, but when you've gone 50,000 London, yeah, okay, you could argue, well, it's done the ICW crowd drop if you want to make that comparison. But to go from 50,000 to 10,000 Wembley Arena next door, that to me feels like too much. You're going the other way. I mean, definitely a sellout,
Yeah.
super quick sellout, but does Rev Pro then do copper box if they're only dealing with a fifth of the potential crowd there?
I
Or do
think
they do your call or what?
I think they can still do the copper box. I honestly, as I said, 50,000 down from 80 down to 50,000, and it only had 100 here or there reduction. Honestly, I think they could still do the copper box, absolutely no problem, because all you just need is those 4,000 people who want to go to Rev Pro to continue going, and I think that is still I think they could still do that, even if it was only 3.5. It would still be a success. You know,
I would, yeah, I would say this year it's proven to be homegrown
yeah.
roster is definitely delivered. And
I,
unless there's an almighty drop off, I can't see any reason why it wouldn't next year.
I mean, if you want to continue with the Forbidden Door thing, do you do, does Andy maybe pick up the phone and say, "Let's do Ring of Honor versus Rev Pro," on the Saturday, and it would tickle possibly, I dare say if they're doing 20,000 in the O2, I'm going to put my neck out of the line and say it's probably the O2. If they run the O2 at 20,000, could they run a bigger configuration for the copper box and chuck Ring of Honor in with them, or do a double show day? Afternoon is Rev Pro, evening is Ring of Honor. I think
I think that would depend on what Ring of Honor is this time
yeah,
next year. I mean, there's
I,
obviously the whole the never ending AEW
that
TV deal, rebranding Ring of Honor. If that comes with it and it raises their profile, absolutely.
that's obviously not a conversation really for this pod, but I think there's a lot more value. I think Ring of Honor still has more cachet in Europe than it probably does in America, um,
Yeah.
especially amongst people because that. So if you was to do, I don't know, I'm completely pulling things out of me bum here, but if you do Nigel McGuinness, for example, versus Sabre Jr. in the copper box, there's a Ring of Honor versus Rev Pro thing, I think that would probably shift a few. I don't know. I think they can still justify the copper box, and I think Andy would want to keep it.
Yeah,
I
it's
and
his showpiece
Andy's
location
stubborn
now.
enough that he's like, let's just bloody do it.
I mean, and I think as
Because
well, not to go into the business of it all. You know, 2 years of selling 4,000 tickets, that's got to be a pretty penny going in the coffers.
yeah, exactly.
You suspect they did, I don't know the finances, but you suspect there is there will be break
There's
even point, and you suspect by now we'd at least be able to maybe not a 229 crowd in the copper box, but definitely like a your call crowd. But definitely if that is the break even,
there
no,
there is room to grow, and even if I I honestly think that there would be space for if I mean I don't know what the rent is on the copper box compared to the York Club, but if you ran only the bottom level of the copper box, that's got to be 2,000. I'm assuming.
it's
So that
about what New Japan did. Yes, about 2,000.
yeah,
Yeah,
about 2,000 only using the bottom level. Um, I think that's. I think the York Hall is on borrowed time. To be completely frank, I don't see it continuing.
If the rent's fine and cop boxes got the availability, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, every York Hall show, the old complaints about the bar
Yeah.
service is crap. People are fed with getting an intimate scene too by security, shall we say? Even though things have changed with the security company, so I think as well, you with cop box, you've got a lot more mainstream, a lot more pubs. If you want to go out and eat,
Yeah.
uh,
It's
the
got
Stratford
transport
Westfield's
connections.
not too far away. You've got multiple train lines. It's
Yeah.
not just the Central Line or your Buggard. So yeah, we'll see where it goes, and if I don't think cop box will be the new home overnight, but it's also something they won't be careful of. We're doing. We're definitely moving towards mixing in Crystal Palace with York, we did that last year.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
can see, and heck, the other thing as well, we had the show streamed, perfect stream in terms of it didn't cut out.
Yeah.
None of the York Hall ones that have been able to do that for reasons we've covered in the past.
Yeah.
So even if you go down to, well, I'd rather pay a little bit extra for a venue I know has got good internet, and granted, I know there are issues with the copper box. We've got to use specific crews for setup and tear down rather than York Hall they can use their own guys. But we'll see. It might maybe one of those where if they build up enough of a rapport, concessions get made, and we'll see. But so yeah, that was the 12-year anniversary show. Two good anniversary shows back to back at the same building. Hopefully 3 in a row next year. We'll see. As for the rest of the year, well, it's gonna be quiet one now. We don't do quiet. This weekend, Rev Pro are doing shows in 2 countries, and I suspect they're crossing their fingers for no flight cancellations on Sunday or Saturday night for Sunday, because even though I was going as a fan, I'd be thinking this is cutting it tight. But this coming Friday, August 30th, it's GWF and Rev Pro Double Impact at Berlin's Astra Culture House. So both we're doing shows Friday and Saturday. They're both 1 p.m. UK time, 2 o'clock in Germany. We've got, so this is as of 9 p.m. Wednesday night. This is what we have announced thus far. Friday, we've got Michael Oku taking on Axel Tischer. Jessie J defending the GWF Women's title against Lizzie Evo. That's Jessie's first defense of a belt she won last November in GWF.
Was that off of Ava Everett?
Yes, it was. And there's, because I've now watched the GWF live streams when we're on, and that's a common complaint, like we do the donate gimmick, and the number of messages people things like, "Well, book Jessie J." It's like she is working, like she's like as of today, she's defended that belt more outside GWF than in.
Yeah,
like they've got a mixed tag title that they've created and defended since Jessie won the women's title. So I don't know what the deal is, but it felt like they took the belt off Ava Everett because she was going back to America and hasn't been back since. Fair enough. But if Jessie J is the only person you could have to be an opponent, is this week the best way
we know
around?
that's not true. So
Yeah, well, in terms of availability.
See the other podcast.
Leon Slater against Desire. So this was a surprise matchup we had at Riot Cabaret. We're doing this again with advertising. So I heard a lot of good things about that Riot Cabaret match. So hope this one's got a lot to live up to. JJ Gale, he's taking on Taishi Ozawa, so from New Japan Pro Wrestling Noah in the space of a week. And I guess main event, at least from what's been announced thus far, Mike DiVecchio defending the GWF World title against Ricky Knight Jr. in a rematch from, I believe, Sheffield. So yeah, 5 matches then. That's looking to be a tasty match for early Friday afternoon if you're going to be watching that.
Yeah.
Saturday, again, same venue, the Astra Culture House. This is the appetizer for the Bash in Berlin. Only one match announced so far is Robbie X against El Fantasmo. Names have got for this. You've got Axel Tischer, Jessie J, Leon Slater, Luke Jacobs was announced for both these. Oku, Mike DeVecchio, Pascal Spalter, Aitash Bahabev, current GWF Tag Champions. They're defending those belts against Sunshine Machine, but that's on the Sunday show. So you're not going to get Sunshine Machine at 229. Paige Tahani, Robbie X, Taishi Uzawa, Tim Stubing, Zaya, Ricky Knight Jr. again, JJ Gale, Oscar Leuber, Yuta Nakashima, Erkan Silshani, Tony Harding, Fast Time Mood on Metahan. So got a lot of names which we've been familiar with just from WXW, a lot of GWF regulars, and who knows, maybe one or two of those names may be impressing enough to find a way over this side of the channel.
Yeah, I think there's certainly there's people who I feel maybe don't get the um I've been a big fan of GWF for God knows how many years. I've been watching I think since probably about 2018. Um, there's
No
some
days to
people.
free counts.
Yeah. I'm not going to spend what I do on Alfie Fresh and say all they need to do is bring back their TV show, bring back Free Count. But yeah, obviously we all know and love Mike D. He is getting a good sort of takeover in Britain now, at least occasionally. But like I'm a big fan of Tim Stubing. I'm a big fan of Tony Harting as well. I think that there's a lot of mileage in both of them, and also we were briefly chatting before the show from Group Anasi. Well, it's not. I don't think that's a thing anymore, is it? But
No, it's him. Two Sweet
I
Heroes is the
touch,
tag
I
team they've got
touch,
at the moment.
I touch Baha. Obviously, I first sort of saw him in Group Anasi, and which was like the Turkish diaspora group, which was him and Ali Aslan and the other guy from
Chem Kaplan,
yeah, them
Abdul
sort of people.
Kenan,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I think iTouch has got a lot of upside, and I think we listen to us on our Free Fresser where we've talked about a few of his matches that have maybe appeared on occasionally. But yeah, I think there's a lot of upside for him as a young German wrestler. So I'd love to see him maybe get a shake over in Britain. And Joe Pascal Spalter, he's always been a bit of a guilty pleasure for me.
Yeah, I think
100%. I've basically always thought he's basically and God rest his soul, but I always considered him to be GWF's absolute Andy in the way.
yeah,
Like a bit of a Jerry Lawler throwback. He doesn't seem to do it so much now, but he always used to have a bit of a. He was a movie star because he's on quite a lot of the a lot of TV shows are made in Berlin, and if you make TV shows in Berlin, especially about like police and gangs things, they tend to get GWF wrestlers just as extras.
God, was it four blocks? Was that
Yeah, Four
the
Blocks is
show?
obviously the biggest one. That's got half the GWF roster in it. So, but obviously Pascal Spalter has been in quite a few TV things in Germany, and yeah, Spalter's a one I've always he's been a. I've unfortunately never had the opportunity to see him live, which is a travesty to be completely honest. But he's always been one that I've always enjoyed watching whenever I do get the chance. So yeah, I'd be interested to see them against Sunshine Machine if that does come to pass.
Yeah, that one is Sunday for GWF Battlefield show.
Yeah,
So both for Double Impact and Battlefield will be streaming live on the GWF YouTube. It's youtube.com/@GWF. Believe it'll be just for German language. I don't know if Rev Pro's doing an English version live or it'll be post-produced, but at least you got one way of seeing it
yeah,
and free of charge, so well worth dipping into. Even if it's like a Friday, Saturday night thing after it's being aired, because they do keep the on-demands up, and then they tidy up and put a post-produced version up as well for free. So well worth looking at. And hey, for change, will be at least be some GWF running, not head-to-head for 229. And speaking of, this coming Sunday back at 229 live at London 88, 4:30 bell time, and we've got I guess half a card here. Michael Oku against JJ Gale, which we've already mentioned. Leon Slater against Jay Joshua. Joshua getting a few more bookings, and having not been impressed from it in WXW Ambition, he's really sticking out. I think his match with JJ Gale a fortnight ago in Southampton was one to really seek down. Millie McKenzie back in Rev Pro after an absence of way, no, way too long. And I am going to check because it feels like she was one of those who went NXT UK and
I don't think she's been since the pandemic. She might have done
let's
one.
see some.
She might have had a Sheffield one or something.
Yeah, because I know after the pandemic, she, I'd
Yeah,
say reduced when promotions worked with. Her last Rev Pro would have been their last show before the pandemic
yeah,
against Charlie Evans in St. Neots of all places, March 2020. So yeah, 4.5 years near enough. So yeah, so welcome back. She'll be taking on Kanji and Zazaya taking on El Phantasmo, which yeah, that one really jumps off the page as well.
yeah. It seems like a quite a strong um, card actually. I think I used to go to every 229 show, and I've sort of eased off a little bit because I think sometimes the cards had left a little bit to be desired. But I think this one, yeah, there's four really good stuff sort of jumping out for me there. I'm quite happy with all four of those.
So that'll be this Sunday, 4:30 p.m. bell time. If you can't get there, of course, we'll be on revpondemand.com. Just skip through a couple of the big shows upcoming rest of the year. British J Cup 2024, that's the Gordon Craig, featuring Stevenage, Saturday, September 28th. Elba Bauer, Cavanario announced so far for that. Expect a few names in the coming weeks because we've got to do an 8-man tournament plus a supporting card. Global Wars, Saturday, October 19th, from the Doncaster Dome of all places. Then the next day, New Japan with Royal Quest 4 at Crystal Palace. So you'd expect maybe a few names in town, and because at opposite end of the country, you'll be maybe a few on one show and no, few on both shows, shall we say. Saturday, Sunday, November 16th, 17th, the HMV Empire in Coventry for the Trios Grand Prix. And that's, all the big shows. Of course, you've got your monthly stops at 229 every other month in Southampton. Next one's October 13th. And I believe the end of the month, Sheffield, the day after Stevenage. And so, yeah, so it's one of those where plenty going on. And yeah, so Mike, hell of a weekend. If you're not going to Tottenham this weekend, you've got at least two shows for free going up through GWF. Yeah, thanks for joining, Mike. Where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on at Mike Kilby on everything, on Twitter, on Instagram, on the only things you're really worth following me on. I'm also on a wonderful podcast called Auf die Fresse, which is on this network. So if you listen to this, you've probably listened to that, which
And if
is
you
obviously
haven't, what the hell are you doing?
that's the English language German wrestling podcast where we talk about mainly WXW. Um, yeah, there's a big show coming up. We're hopefully doing soonish, which we something to look forward to. But yeah,
Yeah, the
that's where
best,
you,
I guess, another Rev Pro alumni if you want to make a tenuous link.
yeah,
Best of Timothy Thatcher, because, of course, near enough a month's time, when this goes up, there'll be the World Tag Team Festival
yeah,
featuring Tim Thatcher's first match in Europe since the pandemic, since his WWE run.
yeah.
So yeah, why not do that link? And of course, back catalogue we did a best of Walter and Ilya Dragunov, thinking maybe having a match in Birmingham this weekend. No, we've just been doing all the house shows instead. Which hey, at least they've been
I must
servicing on
say
YouTube.
my lunchtime, my mid morning coffees have been improved greatly by having Ilya Volta house show match to watch. They've
Yeah, I've got forced to watch. I think
yeah,
tomorrow, my afternoon freed up.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
but
worth a watch if you can reach them, seek them.
so yeah, so if you're on the feed, if you just dropped in for one episode, subscribe to us on YouTube, on Spotify, every podcast app you can think of, you can get hold of us. We'll be back on the After Fresher podcast in a week or two's time with the Tim Thatcher's show, and then believe at the end of September for Ashley's review of the Bielefeld show and World Tag Team Festival preview. So, Backbody Drop podcast, a lot of stuff going on. And as for Dream Factory, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on this podcast very soon. Adios.